Welcome back to Southwest Yard and Garden. I'm Curtis Smith. We're back in the Xeriscape garden in Albuquerque looking at flowering shrubs and trees which are excellent for our xeriscapes here in New Mexico. Blue avena is a good ornamental grass for our water conserving landscapes. It has a nice bluish green color. As the seed heads move around in the wind, they provide animation in the landscape. So it's not a static appearance. And the seed are also attractive to birds. You don't want to plant this right against the house because it does have some fire potential. So plant it out a little bit further out in the landscape. Cherry sage, also called autumn sage, is truly a sage. It's in the salvia group. It's a favorite of hummingbirds and many people who have xeriscapes. Beautiful red flowers, pink flowers, purple flowers, or white flowers. It adds a lot to the xeriscape. It flowers all summer. And it really does attract the hummingbirds. Red yucca is really not a yucca, it's a Hesper aloe. But it's a beautiful flowering plant for our xeriscapes, very graceful, very attractive, and a good addition to almost any xeriscape. The desert willow is very well known to people who know xeriscape. It's a beautiful small tree, very graceful, with an interesting form. It has very narrow leaves. It casts a light shade so other things can grow underneath it. And it has spectacular flowers throughout the summer. This is another one of the plants that is a favorite of hummingbirds who are just drawn to the flowers as if they were a magnet. Mountain mahogany is an excellent shrub for xeric landscapes. It's native to the mountains throughout the West. It does well in relatively low water. It will need some irrigation. Its flowers are not very conspicuous, but the fruit that it produces are showy. Like on the cliff rose, it produces a feathery seed. Bird of paradise is not the tropical bird of paradise you see in flower arrangements. This is a very good arid land plant. In fact, it's extremely well adapted to dry landscapes. It has beautiful yellow flowers with red stamens. They show up very nicely. It has a very fine foliage, which has a bluish green texture, and just its appearance is cooling mentally. So it provides a cool appearance in the landscape, an extremely exotic appearance. A nice plant to have. However, be aware the beans are slightly toxic. They're not to be eaten. The Chitalpa is an interesting hybrid tree. It's an excellent moderate water plant for our xeriscapes. Becomes in time a moderate-sized tree, but its greatest characteristic are these beautiful flowers. And it flowers very heavily early in the summer and it can flower right through the summer. It's interesting that this is a hybrid between our western Chitalpa tree and our desert willow. And one of the interesting things about that was the hybrid was first made in the former Soviet Union in what is now Uzbekistan. Lavender is a very adaptable plant. It grows in many parts of the world. You can find it in English gardens, but it does very well in our landscapes as well. It's going to require a little bit of irrigation, but it provides a bright splash of color in the xeriscape. Be aware, however, that blue flowers attract bees. You'll have bumblebees and honeybees and many other kinds of insects, many of which will sting around the blue flowers. So don't put this in an area where you're going to be likely to come in contact with the bees. However, at this point, the bees are more interested in the flowers than they are in you. So there's very little chance of being stung. Soap tree yucca does well in more northern parts of the state than does the palm yucca. It can tolerate the cold better than the palm yucca. It has a narrower leaf, but the point is still quite firm and can punch a hole in you just like the other yucca can. It's a very beautiful plant though, an excellent plant to have in the landscape. And what's interesting about this is that it is the state flower. It has beautiful white flowers which look spectacular against our blue New Mexico skies. It adds quite an attractive appearance to our landscapes.